Hey everyone, Andy here. I'm editor over here at bloomerboomer.com. Now, let me ask you this. Do you remember those Dos Equis beer commercials? I mean, it was a while back. It was featuring the most interesting man and all his amazing exploits that he does. You know, those were epic advertisements, and it seems as though whenever I occasionally meet really remarkable, extraordinary people, I kind of think of the guy in that commercial, the Dos Equis guy. Well, today's guest is sort of like that, but in a different way. In that, first of all, she's traveled the world and she's published 27 books in 17 languages, and she brings a message about healing that people have been clamoring for. Now, we're going to speak with internationally renowned Cyndi Dale. We're going to do that in just a moment. But first, though, if you are new to Boomer TV, it's in now the fourth season of our CNN-style interview shows, formats that you're seeing here right now. And we are continuing that format, by the way, with something a little bit new, with focused experts and visionaries from all over the world. And I may mix in a few shows featuring one of my guilty pleasures, and that guilty pleasure is playing video games. For me, they're just riveting, they're fun, helps me totally focus, and I just can't stop doing it. So if you want to be part of all this amazing journey with bloomerboomer.com, you can do that. You can be part of our community. You can like and follow us on your favorite social media, where we live stream everything on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, even Twitch. That's my favorite. Nobody else really goes to that site except gamers. A lot of them, by the way, but they're probably, majority of them are younger than me, right? Instagram. We're also on our website, right on bloomerboomer.com. You can follow the show right there if you want. In a moment, we're going to speak with Cyndi Dale, author, intuitive healer. And in the meantime, just want to remind you, I love marmalade. Well, Cyndi Dale, it is just great having you here today, and you're just perfect for the time. So I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here. I feel like I'm supposed to have a beer and be playing video games while we're talking too, though.
That's pretty much what it was. I think that the common scenario after he had done one of his amazing feats was to be sitting in a bar somewhere with that beer propped up. But every story to me was unforgettable, and I love that series.
I think
So,
it's fantastic. I'm not good at video games, I have to admit, but I can pull off a beer every so often.
well, hey, anybody can play a video game, and there are so many kind of games out there. You would be surprised that there are some I think you would really love. But that's for another day and another story. But up until now, my favorite throwaway line with people was, how are you doing, right? Now it really means that, Cyndi. I mean, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. And it really is a timely question because what's going on? Isn't it just something? I think people are gripped by uncertainty. I think we're hoping for hope. I, think people are constantly checking their temperature or going places if they do get out to check their temperatures. And so I'm an energy worker. And so I approach these kind of challenges, not just from the point of view of, how can you talk to yourself and how can you keep yourself healthy, but what's happening with your invisible energy? How can you keep yourself well and upbeat with the invisible energy that we're all made out of?
I want to explore that in a minute, let's do that. Why don't we? Because I have a ton of things I want to find out and ask you. But let me ask you this. Tell me about invisible energy. I do have energy sometimes. I don't know where it comes from, but I'd love to know more about invisible energy.
Well, scientists have known forever that everything's made out of energy. And the cool thing is there's energy that can move faster than the speed of light, not just slower than the speed of light. But all of us, when we were growing up, we only learned the knock on wood physical energy. So that's what we believe in. That's what is tried and true. When we're dealing with something like a virus, it's scary because we can't see it, but we can still, kind of see it under a microscope. But Science also says about 99.9999% of an object is made out of invisible energy. It's just space. So that's what I specialize in. What do we pick up from other people? What do we know without knowing how we know it? How does intuition work? So that's the realm of invisible energy that these days a lot of people call subtle energy.
Yeah, I now that rings home. I think I definitely have felt that. Now I wish I could give you maybe a better introduction, but there are so many amazing things that that brought you here today. So tell me a little bit about maybe about the journey which got you here.
Well, I mean, we all have a story, don't we?
We sure do.
I was one of those strange kids. I think we're all strange in our own way. I was just strange in a different sort of way. So when I was growing up, I could hear ghosts. I could see colors coming off of people. I knew what they felt. I knew what they needed. And my parents were born and bred Norwegian Lutherans. So I was just considered imaginary. But I saw these things. I felt them. I knew them. And so when I entered my 20s and I went to therapy for a long list of issues that did need to be dealt with, and I still work on codependency and this and that, I was also able to perceive the energy, like you're saying. Sometimes you just feel energy. You can tell what somebody's feeling. You sometimes feel their feelings for them or with them, or we're able to guess who might be on the phone when the phone rings. And no, it's not, you can't cheat with caller ID, or you're just kind of guessing what might happen tomorrow when it does. So I started to be able to activate my invisible gifts, if you would. Who can prove that they're real unless there's an impact? And so I trained in other countries, in jungles, in deserts, in order to figure out what these invisible energies were. And I've been working on that for quite a long time. And I just help people kind of figure out what's on the inside of them, or how they're responding to what they can't really see on the outside of them, with healing and accessing their intuition. So it's been quite the journey, and I'm not done. I'm talking to you. So this is a remarkable step as I'm moving forward with trying to help people figure out why they know what they know without knowing why they know it.
Yeah. And you're from Minnesota. You say you're a Lutheran and Scandinavian, everything. You got
Yeah,
it all.
grew up with hot dishes. I mean, we still do hot dishes in my house. My youngest son is a baseball player, so I go to a lot of baseball games. So sometimes people are like, I thought people like you who do intuitive work or help people do energy healing, I thought you were all just sort of odd. I thought you just wore caftans or had long crystal jewelry, which I sort of have crystal jewelry, but that's kind of in right now too. So I live a very normal life and have dogs, have a backyard, do grilling, and I'm able to perceive energy and help people figure out how to bring in energy that's going to help them and how to keep out the energy that's going to hurt them.
Well, don't you think maybe you had an instinct for it in the first place?
I did. Yeah, I absolutely did. And it came naturally because my grandmother on my dad's side could see ghosts. And nobody talked about it except my grandmother. Like at a dinner, my grandmother would say, yeah, there was a ghost at the top of the stairs. And everybody stops chewing their pot roast and just kind of looks away. But she could see ghosts. And on my mom's side, my mom died just a year ago, but my mom did dream analysis. So she worked with people around their dreams and the meaning of their dreams. And her mother did healing work. She was a nurse, but she'd sometimes leave her hand a little longer on one of her patients and send in some prayer. So I think a lot of us come from a lineage where there was work with the invisible in a good way. And so it's sort of natural that I might be in that industry, if you
Oh, okay.
would.
So, yeah. Well, the boomer audience, we're made up of, for the most part, people over 55. Now, does what you teach apply the same, let's say, to my community as it does, let's say, to a 30 or 40-year-old?
It absolutely makes no difference. I'm finding more of the millennials are really interested in meditation. They're really stressed. They have sometimes different concerns than 55 plus. So they're going, to certain types of outlets or teachings or learnings. But I think it's even more instinctive and important for 55 plus. For instance, I taught a class about 5 years ago at a senior home, and I thought I was going to be teaching the seniors. There were maybe 100 of them. And after a while, they were doing all the talking. One man raised his hand and said, I'd had a near death experience. He'd had a heart attack. He said he saw an angel when he was in that state, and he came back and he was able to perceive how people felt. And he didn't even care how they felt before. And his wife piped in and said, yeah, you're a lot nicer now. And I think, so we can all be nicer if we work with energy. I mean, that's a message. But I think that we stop, and I'm 61, so I'm in the category. I think we stop caring as much about what people say and think. And I think we're actually more willing to be open to what we feel, what might come our way, how we might better develop our intuition. I think we're going to pay more attention to, this friend of mine, I think I'd better call them. Or I'm feeling lonely. I'm just going to send out a prayer or open in meditation or be connected in such a way that I can receive what I need from something or somebody. So I think we're actually more willing, because honestly, at a certain point, it's sort of like the old book, like, let's paint our hair red or orange or purple, or, you know what I mean? Who cares? At a certain point, come on, like, we are who we are. Why not get expanded?
Yeah, I think you're right. It sure feels that way to me. Now, for viewers who are new, talk about what you do and what it means to be an intuitive healer.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, when I'm working with somebody or teaching a class, I'm in touch with my main connection. People have different names: God, spirit, divine, goodness, doesn't matter to me. But I go in that place where I feel aligned with goodness. And then I'm able to receive images, senses, pictures, sometimes messages that are helpful for the client or helpful for the class. Or I teach people how to do that, how to get a message, how to get a picture that's going to give them guidance, how to connect in a way that they know what to say to somebody who needs a word of encouragement. So when I'm working with the client, I get those insights. And then I help link them if they have a need. Say they have cancer, heart disease, gallbladder issues, psychological problems. They're lonely, they're sad, they're scared. I help them link to a higher source of guidance, whatever they would call it, so they can get some healing. And people usually do. They get a shift, they get a burst of energy, they get a kindness, they get a message, or they go into their lives better able to receive what they need. Maybe all we do is like talk for a while, and they have a heart condition and they go out for a walk. And these days you have to be 6 feet apart when you go out for a walk. Yeah. But they run into somebody who's a cardiologist who says, you know what, you need to come in and see me. So life's full of magic and miracles, and most of them seem minor, but they can lead to great things.
Yeah, indeed they can. And let me just jump around a little, because I know that your books have covered, a lot of different subjects. So, I have this amazing partner, and his name is Duke, and we spend a lot of time together. Now, I saw you have a book. It's called Energy Wellness for Your Pets. So yes. I love learning about them. I'm wondering, what energy wellness for your pets, can tell me, about Duke.
I loved writing that book. At one point, I had 6 pets, and Max, the guinea pig, ran the house. You may not think a guinea pig could run the house, but this one did. Like, literally, my 4-footed, pets would stand right next to his cage looking at him, almost like, what do you want us to do? Or how can we, not, run holy terror into the household, and he'd chirp at them. So it's a fun book because it covers almost everything. Why is this pet in your life? What might be your bond? What are you learning from it? What are you giving it? How can you intuitively communicate? What do some of their behaviors mean? And I teach people how to do energy healing for their pets. I mean, very simplistically, how can you send energy to your pet when your pet looks down, doesn't feel well? And the end of the book is a little more challenging because sooner or later our pet's going to leave. And so I even talk about how do you help that pet with the transition? And even if you're willing, how do you still communicate with your pet when it's gone? When I was actually writing the book, I had a girlfriend who lost a pet, and her dog had this great feathery dark hair. And when I was writing that section, all of a sudden, out of the empty air in my house, I get these little black feathers. So I thought, well, her dog, Racy, is visiting me. So, but it can be very practical. How do you pay attention to this concern or this, or how do you know when to take them to a vet versus how do you open up your heart so you know what they're thinking and feeling? And, these kind of pets, it sounds like Duke is the same, will get the message across one way or another. It's probably usually I'm hungry, but they're
Well,
right.
yeah, that's so true. And I do feel sometimes that he's able to communicate with me in ways that mystify me because I understand what he's conveying to me, and we can't speak, of course. And that's just one example of many. They really are fascinating.
Yeah, they are. They're such dear. I was visiting friends a couple years ago, and I was talking about my dog Honey, who's a golden retriever, who no matter where I am in the world, Honey and Lucky get up at 4 a.m. I get up at 4 a.m., put them in the car, take them to a park and run them. And no matter where I am in the world, Honey barks. Like at whatever is 4 a.m. in that country, I just can't sleep in. And I'm telling my friends this, we're having a dinner, and all of a sudden they have no animals. They have no kids who can bark anything. We hear this barking like in their house. And I'm like, see, Honey barks. So they're pretty uncanny.
Yeah, and you're saying they actually bark at that time, local time, wherever they may
Oh,
be.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's good.
Funny.
And then during all these turbulent times we live, the world's attention is on Black Lives Matter. And can you talk a little bit about what you call the subtle energy of racism, and how we can unknowingly, carry subtle energies that can actually create racism?
I'm so glad you're asking me about that. A lot of people don't want to go there. And I'm in ground zero. I'm in Minneapolis. So I was here when the protests started. And one of the approaches I take to help work on myself as a white person is that I know that there's energetics that we inherit. Around our genes are 14 generations of memories. They're built into what's called the epigenetic material. Now, this is a whole new branch of science, and it's valid. And we have 14 generations plus of memories. And so here's my Viking memories, right, that can, without me knowing it, really affect my subconscious. Because like Vikings were, sort of terrible people. I mean, they just ran rampant. They enslaved people. I'm part of that whole North American kind of issue of people that were partly responsible and mainly responsible for, taking, stealing, enslaving Africans, kind of hurting them over, hundreds of years. And so even though I may not consider myself to be a racist, this chemical soup is a racist chemical soup. So if I'm willing to look at that, to be different than some of my ancestors, if I'm willing to support Black people who are saying we still feel enslaved, they do because of social structures, they do because of laws, bad laws, attitudes, but they can also feel that way because there's still these imprisoning epigenes within them. if we can start to understand where we're coming from and literally what we're born like and how other people are born, I think we can get softer. We can change our own attitudes. We can better understand other people and where they come from, and not just meet them with resistance, but say, yeah, you know what? I get it. That's in your memory banks.
Yeah.
And what my ancestors did is in my memory banks. So how do I forgive? How do I change? How do I look at what I'm doing or what I'm even thinking? Because I'm programmed at some level to be a certain way.
Yeah. Well, as we wind down, and I wanted to just get the hard issues because so many people were open and seeking answers to a lot of things, and I guess we do have to talk about those real life issues we all must contend with right now. And tell me about the energy of money and changing our negative patterns to move toward prosperity.
Yeah, well, money is an energy again. I mean, we sort of measure it, but these days it's probably easier than ever to think of as money as an energy because what we have a shortage of coins. We don't
Yeah.
usually use $20 bills. It's all invisible. We're transferring it around. So the same way that we can be born with racism, we have inherited generational patterns around money. Did our ancestors lose the farm? Were they trained in a religion that said money is the root of all evil? Or I mean, some of the Lutheran stuff is really more like, you know what? God loves you. If you have money, God loves you even more. So we,
Mhm.
well, and I like money. I need to pay my bills. I like to support my children. And so if we start working inside with what did I inherit? What did mom show me? What did dad show me? What were my dysfunctional patterns? What are the templates? And then we have to secondarily say, okay, if money's about a template, what template do I want? Can I start attaching to money something beneficial feelings, philanthropic feelings, a good feeling when we bring money in? And it'll change your patterns with money. When I first started doing that, all of a sudden I started finding quarters everywhere I went on the ground, not pennies. They don't go very far anymore. Quarters. And I thought it was just a simple sign that said, I'm willing to have a positive relationship with money. And so when I need it, it comes. And so, but I've chiseled away at it. But I think if we can just start with the small things, what do I want to keep from what I inherited? What do I want to change? What do I want to believe? Then the belief starts to make it happen.
Yeah, well, you got to believe first. Any thoughts as we, finally, I guess, living under COVID-19, it's all new territory for everyone. And any thoughts that you can leave with us today?
Well, here's an energy thought. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you're scared, it's hard enough to be able to think logically. Like when I'm scared, and I got scared in the beginning of this stuff, I was like out there driving around looking for toilet paper like everyone else. Fortunately, I moved out of that stage. Maybe once I got enough toilet paper in the house. But you know what? We're still scared. We're still in this sense of uncertainty. Just be careful not to take on other people's fear. Because when we have some fear can be healthy. It can say, go to the right, go to the left, don't do the grocery shopping today, do this today, wear your mask, whatever it is. But if we also take in others' fears, because fear is contagious, we're going to be too scared to be logical. We're going to get too terrified to be grounded and practical and logical. So just decide you're just going to deal with your fear, and you don't need to absorb or bring in everybody else's fear too.
Oh, I like that. That makes life a little easier.
It does a
Understanding.
lot easier. You can
Yeah,
take it with joy. Joy is great, but don't do their fear. Don't do their anger.
yeah,
That's just
yeah.
going to get you down.
Well, Cindy, how can people find more about you? And I know you have a website and so forth.
I do. It's simple. It's cindydale.com, but Cyndi is spelled weird. It's CYNDI, cindydale.com. So you can just visit me there. And I've got I've got a meditation for COVID healing that's free if you want to look for that. And, just take a look if you feel like it.
Okay, well, we should just ran it there so people will see it. They can also come back here and find out more about it. And want to thank you so much, Cindy.
Thank you. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, well, we want to thank you for watching, Cyndi Dale, is an internationally renowned author, speaker, healer, and business consultant, and the author of 27 books about energy and medicine, intuition, and spirituality. And you can find out more on Facebook, here on Facebook, or on YouTube and at bloomerboomer.com. And if you like this, please like us on your favorite social media, Facebook, and follow us. And in the meantime, so long. And I will see you next time. And I do love marmalade.